Sure. Right, right. I want to. But I think he has a copy. I think so. I think he has it. Like, no,
It's the marathon. It's the marathon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Here we go.
And
Matchy, matchy.
All right. Flat. The little leg. Here we go. Close. Back it up. That's why we went back. Okay, we just move forward. You happy there? Yeah, there we go. Oh, do I get the win?
People. Okay.
I mean,
We're gonna put a credit card in this. I'm gonna. Here we go.
All right. Sorry, guys. We got a twofer today.
Super, tell me more.
So we're gonna be drawing, our normal drawing. I have a AW Integrity Cat Football Cat. And Troy, who's gonna talk in a second, also donated a cake. Sure, I can't put a card in
You're here, and the only difference is if you win the cake, you have to split it with everyone.
Yeah. All right, you wanna go?
Yeah, cool.
Here's one. First one. Sure.
I was trying to look away entirely.
Peter.
Oh.
Here,
On that.
hopefully, here.
Right now, you're gonna see. You can't do it too high for her.
Brady.
Congratulations, both of you. Yeah.
Oh.
Nice work, nice work. Hey, sir, how are you? All right, well, we have a busy day today, like most weeks. We have to move. So, we're gonna start out with our gratitude. Our moment of gratitude for the week. Anybody want to start? Nobody has gratitude. We do. Come on, something happened in your life this week that you're proud and grateful for. I was grateful. Get one, PJ.
Last night, my sister called me. She's in Mexico and she got the visa after many, intense. She got the visa. The kids are so happy. So she's coming.
That is awesome. In my house, I have a realtor.
Yeah.
No, they just coming for visiting.
That is awesome. Come on. Well, we have some work to do on finding what we're grateful for. Sometimes it doesn't feel like we found it.
You got a whole week, does it?
Yeah, if you can think about it for next week. This is so much more fun. And we're like, yeah, I'm like, what's your gratitude? And they're like, don't make eye contact this week. Read it for me, Nick. That's okay, you guys. I appreciate that. Sometimes we feel like we're getting our teeth kicked in. Sometimes we are getting our teeth kicked in. So this week, my gratitude is that you showed up in your team. My gratitude is that you're doing what you can do to impact your business. There are plenty of other agents that chose not to do this today. And most of them aren't out selling anything. They're just out pretending to be somewhere important where you guys are showing up. So my gratitude goes out to you guys. Thanks for being here. Otherwise, it would just be the Nick Rare show. And well, that's most of my life in my head outside of this meeting. So it's crazy. With you guys here, I know that we're doing something good and we're moving in. All right. Rock solid, residential and commercial inspection, rock solid, where you at? If you are.
You're just winging, so I'm just gonna wing it here.
I did it. I didn't
Want to give you this, brother?
All right, thank you guys so much.
Yeah, no, you guys worked so well.
That's really my information. So I'm first known rock solid inspection. We've been in business since about 2016. So we're not new to the game. We are located more in the northwest suburbs. We do have inspectors all over the metro area. We currently have 6 inspectors right now. And then we have just some radar runners and sewer scope guys and stuff like that.
You bring it.
What's up? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, people can hear better.
Yep, that sounds good. Normally, I have a couple drinks and singing.
Can give you a copy.
Back to Boulder, yeah.
That'd be awesome. So that's kind of who we are. That's when we started. We're located in northwest suburbs. We do go all over the city. We'll even go up to Brainerd. We've done a lot of multi-million-dollar houses on the lake there. We do have a lot of, my background is a lot of construction science, if you will. So I went to the U of M for architectural. I ran my own architectural business for a number of years. I built a lot of houses on Lake Minnetonka, Pelican Point. So I designed a lot of that kind of stuff here as well. I have a lot of experience with foundations. I've done a lot of different foundation types. So my career is, I never wanted to be in construction, but I love construction. So what that means is I would design and build my houses every 3 to 5 years. And I would do something different every single time with foundations, poured foundations, block foundations, you know, whatever you have, different window types, stuff like that. So that's my experience. I built my last house. I did a tear down on a lake, cabin tear down, rebuilt it. And I did that about 10 years ago, and I realized I'm too old to do this. So, because when I build a house, I do it in 3 months. I design and build everything, I do everything myself, unless I need help lifting walls or setting trusses and stuff like that. But I do it all myself. I'd run 20, 22-hour days and no sleep, and I would just get this house done. And then I move on from there. So that's kind of where it's at. You just don't want these projects to go pretty long. That's kind of where it's at. So I got into the home inspection business because I was watching these inspectors inspect these houses, and they're missing the big parts. They're missing the overview of everything. You know, every house tells a story. And you guys, I love to train realtors, and we do home inspection walkthroughs at my house, and we can go through and train you guys what to look for when you walk up to a house. Every house tells a story right away. How are the roof lines? I've been an architect for a long time. We do these roof lines that are ridiculous. It doesn't direct water in the right directions. It causes problems with houses and stuff like that. It's all really basis to the architect, but the curb appeal, we all want curb appeal. So that's kind of these funny roof lines and all that. It tells us, you know, what to watch out for when we go into the house. We're not saying blurt this stuff out, but just, you know, hey, this is a hot spot here. This is a concerned area here. And then walkthroughs during the walkthrough, keep us watch for that stuff. We don't like doing home inspections. The things that maybe should be caught at the beginning stages or could be caught. I did an inspection just a couple weeks before a realtor, and the whole back wall is pushed in 4 inches. I'm like, see that? It's right there. So it's a big cost, but we explained that to the realtor. I mean, the nice thing is it was a frost crack, it was a horizontal crack. And what that means with horizontal cracks is they're relatively inexpensive to fix. So basically every 6 feet, it costs us $750 to re-support that wall for a lifetime guarantee. So we work with foundation companies that give us prices. We go through training with them. All our inspectors know. So we can explain to the client right then and there, like, yeah, we have a frost crack here. It should be addressed. Here's the approximate cost, and make sure that you want to move forward with it. Otherwise, your inspector will be like, oh boy, this foundation is gonna fall over, and well, that's gonna blow the deal fast. So you can bring some knowledge and some background to it. It helps everybody kind of navigate through those waters. Getting back onto where we are, so we are rock solid home inspections. 2016 we started. We do residential, commercial inspections. We've been doing commercial inspections for a long time. The other services we do is we do radon testing. So you guys are pretty familiar with radon testing. Sewer scopes, we do those as well. Level 2 chimney inspections, mold testing, stucco inspections. We do home watches as well. Home watches is a service that we provide for snowbirds that go down south. So this is a service that we kind of got pushed into. We get home inspections on houses and people are like, well, you know our house really well. We go down and live there for 6 months out of the year, 7 months out of the year. We watch our house every 2 weeks. We come in, we watch a house, we give them a whole report and take pictures. We flush their toilets, run the water, softener, salt, filter changeouts. We get some houses that have really expensive wood in them. So we're in there every week monitoring moisture level. Because in the winter months, our moisture level drops so much and these floors start cracking and splitting. So we go in and out controlling moisture levels in this house all the time because it can't accept the lower temperatures in that house of 55 degrees for a long period. So we're doing all that kind of stuff. With our stucco inspections, let me know if I'm going too long. So with our stucco inspections, we work with contractors as well. So if we do a stucco inspection, which is intrusive, and we find problems, we work with 2 to 3 different contractors. We send out the reports, we get quotes back within 24 hours. So they get business out of it and we are able to accommodate these tight timelines for inspections.
Stucco inspection.
Lots. Okay. It all depends. Yeah. How do I answer this one? I've done some Lake Minnetonka houses that were $130,000 repairs.
No, what's the inspection?
Oh, the inspection cost, so that's a better one. We start at $600 for the first wall, and then it's $200 to $300 for a wall. Because a lot of times houses are just stuck on the front side. Yeah, it's rough. So normally I'm very open and honest on things. So what I always like to tell people is let's start doing inspection. Let's do the stucco inspection on our most constraining walls, and then we'll go from there. And if I don't find any problems in that most constraining wall, like, well, maybe we can stop at this point. We can, make an education decision saying, we went to these hot points and we didn't have any problems. So I'm kind of guessing the flattening was done correctly. The stucco was installed correctly, so we're not going to have problems on the rest of the house. So I'm very good at talking business away from my business, but yeah, I feel it's karma and everything goes back. So that's where we're at. So mold testing, that's another one. That's a big one. Every house has mold. So that's a rabbit hole. We got to be really careful when we go down. The conversation I have with people is if you want to test for mold, what is your reasons? Are you testing the test? You can do that. It's going to cost you $400 to test the test. But what we recommend is do the inspection first. Are we finding water? Are we finding existing mold? Mold needs the water. For the most part, it needs it. Some molds will live on 40% humidity. Aspergillus is okay. And it is that. It's mostly adaptogens. Dangerous molds, we need to get into active water problems for a longer period of time. So we do that. We do those as well, and we have contractors that we work with those. So and the report help them get close. So the biggest thing about us is I understand construction. My company understands construction. We understand like time frames. We do the best we can to accommodate and quote everything in a time frame. So that's the biggest thing. Are we perfect every time? We're not perfect every time. Sometimes our contractors are on vacation or something happens or so we can't rely on us 100%, but we like to do the best we can. Kind of it. Does anybody have any questions or
What's your favorite foundation in Minnesota?
none. I don't know why we put foundations in Minnesota. I mean, because of
I get here in regards to wood. What do you think the downsides are on the wood in Minnesota?
So I understand wood foundations really, really well. I don't think there's a downside to wood foundations.
Okay.
I think the downside to wood
That's a good
foundations
answer.
is people not understanding wood foundations is the downside for wood foundations. You get people coming in and be like, oh my God, a wood foundation, I don't know anything about it. So I'm just gonna throw my arms up and say the world's gonna end. And that's not the right way to do that.
That is what happens.
It is 100% what happens. I get called all the time being like, hey, Troy, the inspector did this and he blew up my deal. I'm like, oh, let me come over there. I went over there for free. Just did a foundation inspection. Just be like, I love them. And if you understand them correctly, if they're installed correctly, they're wonderful. They're absolutely wonderful. They're very efficient. They're very comfortable. They're a great system. So that's where it's at with it. But every foundation is a terrible foundation. If it's not installed correctly, or not draining correctly. You can't point a finger at any one foundation if it's not done correctly. So it's kind of how it goes. So, Nick, you gonna shut me off here pretty soon?
No, two, one of the last things that makes it easier for us to, obviously refer to, the bedside manner of a inspector is probably the most important thing to us. Well, that, and they're actually doing the inspection. So tell us a little bit about how you approach those situations with the consumer. I know you mentioned, but.
Oh my God, that's wonderful. That's kind of the biggest part of our business. So, if you Google us, if you do a Spectora, inspection Google, you're gonna find out that we have over 1,500 reviews. We've only started 2.5 years ago. So we have lots of 5-star reviews and Google reviews as well, but it's easy. Our system is based on, we don't necessarily want to Google review everything. We're just looking for feedback with our company. So we get feedback from the list agent, the buyer's agent, from the clients. That's what information, that's how we grow, is by that feedback. So we get that we have to do, like, how was your inspection? Did everything go good? Blah, blah, blah. So we do that. But our walkthrough is kind of the nuts and bolts, our software system, and our walkthrough is the nuts and bolts. We have a new software system, newer software system. It's called Spectora. It's been out for a while. Difference between our Spectora software and everyone else's is I spent hundreds and hundreds of hours designing ours to match what we want, to simplify, to categorize everything, so it's easy for everyone to read. So we do blue, orange, and red. So red are your big ticket items. Most of the time when we do red, it's cleaned out, kind of approximate cost, repairs, all that kind of stuff. But we want to focus on the big windows, foundation damage, grills, leaks, any kind of water leak is a red, any kind of gas leak is a red, all that kind of stuff. And then we have orange, which is majority of the stuff that's maintenance items, caulking around windows, grading if we can see any water problems. So we're categorizing everything for you and your clients. So they have an understanding of what kind of home maintenance is going to be. And then blue are just comments, like winterizing your sprinkler system, stuff like that. Because a lot of people don't know what a sprinkler system does and what it needs to do. So, but our walkthrough is when we show up, we ask the client to show up. We do inspections at 3.5 hours. 2.5 hours, we ask the clients to come through. We do a 1-hour walkthrough where we take them outside and we walk through everything, being like, hey, your gutter downspouts need to come across here. This is the reason why. If you look at this, we can't have water in the foundation. So we're taking the extra time with your clients. And we want the agents to be there too, so they understand the conversations that we have, because clients like to say, well, my inspector says I have to ask for everything on this report. Defects. We would never, ever say it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate that, because that's where I think where the agent wants to get a genuine response from you, but also not to make them fearful of the situation. So
Yeah. Education, that's really the biggest thing is what blows up deals, in my opinion, is when things aren't explained well to the clients and they can't make an educational decision on something, so they have to fail because of lack of insurance or lack of education. So that's where we really thrive. So, and then at the end of the report, we actually sit down and review the report, because we're 89% done with the report, because all our stuff is done online on our computer, on our phones. We actually review everything and just categorize everything. Like we talked about a lot of things this last 45 minutes. Now let's sit down, look at the report and say, here's important things, here's not important things. What we're doing is we're spending time with them. So your guys' job is to represent them and to inspectors and all that kind of stuff. Our job is to make sure they understand the inspection report. If they have any questions or concerns, call us.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you guys need to be out there selling and getting more houses on the market. That's what we need to do. Well, that's just our role. Yeah, everyone has a role. So that's our deal. And then at the end of the inspection, we celebrate with cake. The agent and the clients get cakes every inspection we do. So, and these aren't the little small ones, these are the medium kind of ones. Raspberries. So that's the other thing we do to kind of show that we care. And Dr. Oban, you want?
you guys can do that.
We get those out. And then what we're trying to do with these cakes is, one, say, when you get home, you're gonna send this report out in a couple hours, sit down and look at the report, and eat the dang cake. And let me know if you have any questions, because what happens is people come a month later and be like, oh, I just looked at my report and I wish I would have known about this. And like, Come on, man.
But Troy, what you're telling me is that rock solid, I can have my cake and eat it too. Troy, thank you so much, my friend, honestly. Guys, each week, yeah, leave that for me. Each week, you guys, we have partners that come in here and not only do they bring lunch for us, not only do they bring value, but they can continue to bring value through the relationship that they have with you and that serves the customer. Be in business with somebody, especially as a home inspector that you know, like, and trust, but also that is respected and loved by your customers. Troy, thank you again, my friend. All right, guys. We are gonna move right into the next round of this, and you guys might know this guy's name is Todd. How do you say that? You guys, Todd is gonna be coming in with some of the most basic investment opportunities that we've looked at. You guys are pretty differentiated most with people that we compete against, and we're providing value at the higher level. Todd, here's your microphone, good sir. Take it away.
How's everybody doing? So I'm sure in another lifetime would have been a great 1950s school teacher. So I wish this was an actual chalkboard, not a whiteboard, but this good fancy, right? So a lot of times we go to these trainings and you've got a PowerPoint that's up, and then you got the speaker that's talking, and you got a handout. It's like, where are you supposed to bring your attention to? Well, in this session, it's going to be on filling out that worksheet that's in front. Right. So hopefully everybody gets to learn. So I did this at Maple Grove, and it took me an hour and 15 minutes. I've got about 40 minutes right now. So I'm going to cut some things off, but we're going to hit a lot. Okay. So let's start with the beginning. Quote from Warren Buffett: "Risk comes from not knowing what you are doing." Right. And I'm also going to quote Gary several times as well. So Gary said in a mastermind, I'm very fortunate to sit in several masterminds with Gary. Sometimes he was 25 people in that mastermind group. He's a brilliant guy, great speaker. Here's what Gary said: the better the questions that you ask about life, the better your life. So just change that a little bit. The better the questions you ask about investing, the better your investments, right? So constantly be asking questions. And by the way, I know that this works because when my daughter was 12 or 13, I had that annoying age. Maybe still at an annoying age. Just kidding. She kept asking me questions because of the quote, right? And I said, "Why are you asking me so many questions?" She said, "Well, you're the one that told me to ask questions." So it acted. All right. Okay, so let's start with this. And by being here in the room, it does pay off. So I've got some gift cards to here, not my credit card, but gift cards. Real gift card. So the first question that I'm going to ask goes back to Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. All right. Now, is there anybody in the room that's read that book? Okay. So do you know what this is? Oh, yeah, exactly. All right. Now, without blurting out the answer, is there anybody in the room that feels confident that they could tell me each one of those quadrants? Yeah. Okay. Next question, since nobody raised their hand. Can somebody tell me one quadrant and you get to, you get one of my gift cards here. One quadrant. Chad?
Business owner?
Okay. Sort of, kind of, but I'm going to give that to you. If this was Family Feud, I'd buzz you, but we're going to give that to you. So that would be up in this quadrant, which is business does it. Okay. So Chad, here's a $10 Caribou Wall gift card.
I'll meet you there. Wants coffee. I'll meet you there.
Well, let's start with the first quadrant. The first quadrant is most people, right? Which is I do it, which is a job. So I do it. So that's your job. And then where does it go from there? It's we do it. So that would be the equivalent of growing a team in our business, right? So I do it, we do it. They do it, which is business does it. And then this is the one that gives you financial freedom down here. And that one is that your investments do it or the money does it, right? That's where you have real freedom in life. That's where you can go do whatever you want because your money is going to work for you. Okay, so we want to make sure that we fill in all of the blanks here. So cash flow quadrant, I do it, we do it, they do it, which is business, and then the money does it. Okay, so what are some examples of the money doing it? What are some of those examples? That's exactly right. What's another one? That's exactly right. What's another one?
It's just money from a business.
Yeah, exactly. And those are the main three, right? Because you can be a business owner and the business is doing it, and you're gonna get cash flow from it. All right, so let me go over a couple other things. We work in the best business in the world, in my opinion, right? And that's why I do it. I could go do something else if I wanted to, but I love real estate. I love the challenges that it brings. We're constantly learning in this business. That's why we talk about practicing real estate. But here's the one thing that we have that a lot of other things don't have. And that is from our sales business, we have the ability to have unlimited what? Yes. If done right. And so then what we would do with that unlimited income is we would bring it over here. And do you know what this is? That's an illustration of why I'm a realtor and not an artist. That's a bucket, right? So you're going to take that unlimited income and you're going to put it into this bucket. And then out of that bucket, you're going to bring it over here and you're going to what? Pay your bills, right? Your living expenses. And how much should your living expenses be? 100%? No, probably not. How about 150%? There's some people that live that way, right? The government lives that way. Probably not a good way to run your personal finances. By the way, our state government runs that too. Minnesota is $52 billion. That's much better than the $36 trillion that the federal government is in. However, we should probably get that to, who said 30? All right, you're getting a gift card. This is just like you. Even though you were ahead of me, I didn't even ask the question. She's like, you know, we're just, right? And then get it from 30 to what? To 10%. And then what are we going to do with the rest of it? Yeah. So KW has a community called KW Wealth. Is anybody familiar with it? You should research it. If not, I'm pulling some of this information from KW Wealth. I paid $1,000 to go to a seminar down in Austin, one-day seminar. To walk into that seminar, you needed to build a plan. They sent out a spreadsheet. You needed to build a plan to build $50 million in net wealth over 20 years. Guess what? I didn't do it. I flew down to Austin, got to my hotel, took the bus from the airport to the hotel, and the reason why that I happen to know the route, and it's $1.50 for the bus instead of $35 for the Uber. So, and by the way, the bus is clean. It's probably cleaner than the Uber. Got to the hotel, they let me check in early. Not walking in tomorrow without having my plan. I spent 5 hours in the hotel room. It was super nice out too. It was early December. It was super nice. There, not here, right? So I could have been outside, hanging out, walking down by the lake and, you know, enjoying myself. But I spent my time building that spreadsheet out so that I would create $50 million in net worth. And the reason I didn't want to do it was like, most people will never get the 50 million. By the way, most people will never get the 5 million. Most people will never get to 10 million. So why didn't we do 5 to 10 million? Why didn't we build that plan first, right? And then, Michael, you said it earlier today. You said, well, if you do it at 50 million and you fall a little bit short, maybe you're only at 45 million or 40 million. That'd be acceptable too, right? Everybody be good with 40 or $45 million net worth? I would hope so, right? Because most people don't get there. Here was my aha from building out that plan. It was easier than I thought. It really wasn't that difficult to plan it out if you had a plan and you followed that plan. And that's exactly why Alec is doing a class on business planning. We need to get here first before we can get over here, right? And walk our way through each one of these quadrants. So, by the way, we are going to, on the email from the team meeting follow-up, we're going to send you out a KW wealth plan assessment. Okay. By the way, all of us too should have our net worth on a tracker. You should have a tracker. This here is going to ask you some very important questions about your finances. By the way, I thought I was pretty good. By the way, my wife is an accountant. So like our personal budget is run like a real budget. You would think that they're running a business instead of a personal financial statement. So anyway, we're going to send this out to you as well. And that's part of what I paid for to get into that class. So let's go back to our sheet here. We've got the 4 quadrants filled out. Anybody know what the rule of 72 is? Okay.
Money doubling? Your money doubling? How long it's gonna take?
Sort of. That's exactly right. So here's the right answer. Take 72 divided by the rate of return. It will give you the number of years that it'll take for your investment to double. So 72 divided by the rate of return. And I just give you, one example of that is that if you had a 3% rate of return, it would take you 24 years to double your money. Interesting, huh? Okay. Now that actually was not a question to earn a coffee card, unfortunately. But if anybody can come within $100,000 of this next question, you get the next coffee gift card. Okay. If you go to NerdWallet, they have a compound interest calculator. It's super fun to play with. So you would take your initial investment and then are you investing monthly? Are you investing yearly? And how much is that? And you get to plug in the rate of return. And that's why understanding the rule of 72 is so important because there's a compounding effect. So here's my question. I know it's loaded and it's complicated and nobody pull out your calculator. You're not going to get this right. I'm going to give you a few important points. If you were to start with $100 and you were to invest $100 every month for 40 years, right? Okay. How much is that per year? $100, $1,200 a year. Right? Total, that's $48,000 that you're going to invest over 40 years. That's your investment. Now, is $100 a lot of money? Now, if you didn't go to Caribou or Starbucks every day, you could probably get that $100 per month, right? Just by cutting that out. So after 40 years of you putting in $100, $48,000 total, if you can come within 100,000 of what the answer is, I will give you this gift card. Anybody want to take a shot at it?
Is it 100 a week or 100?
Wait, raise your hand. Raise your hand. How much? No. 3.7.
1.2.
90.
How much?
90.
No.
$40 now.
And you have, by the way, your rate of return. That's a very. 12%. We're gonna go 12%. There's a reason why we're gonna go 12%. And I will tell you this in just a minute. 12%. All right, come on, somebody else, just get. Raise your hand. I'll read one. No. $1.1 billion.
2.7.
Nope. He's getting the gift card. What? 1,108,000. Isn't that remarkable? So there's the effect of compound interest. Now, why did I give you that number? It's because, it's down a little ways. So the S&P 500 over the last 50 years has paid almost 12%. It can be done. By the way, check it out. Does anybody use Google Finance? Download the app. It's super interesting. You can take stocks like the Magnificent Seven and you can line them up and it'll show you on a graph how they're performing. It's just mind blowing to see how they almost perform. Apple, Google, right? Facebook, Amazon, all of them are kind of tracking the same way. So look, punch in VOO, VOO. It's a Vanguard fund. By the way, Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street own about 88% of all of the stock market, right? So they're not going to put their money into the wrong spot. Guess what the rate of return for this ETF was? It's an S&P 500 index fund. S&P over the last 50 years, 12% on average. Guess what VOO has been in the last rolling 12 months? As of yesterday.
12 months.
Last 12 months. It was at 24. And I had 25 actually written down, like 24.7. As of yesterday, 35% return on investment. Now, an ETF, which is similar to a mutual fund, is going to run with less risk than an individual stock because it's spreading it out over several different types. So anyway, so we did the rule of 72, cash on cash return. Cash earned on cash invested. That's cash on. Okay. ROI is the next one. Return on investment. Most Americans average blank percent, 3%. That's why I gave you that. We were talking about the rule of 72. Most Americans average a 3% return. So it would take 24 years for you to double your money. That's pretty sad. Especially when VOO gave you a 35% return. By the way, over the last 5 years, VOO, when you look it up on Google Finance, has been about 17% on average over the last 5 years. And we've been through some stuff over the last 5 years too, right? So this is what Gary taught us in one of the sessions, the mastermind sessions, is that a lot of people want to try and time the market. And you're never going to get it right. I've seen a graph where if you were just out of the market for a few days over like a 10-year period, your rate of return will be completely different. So it's not about, here's what Gary said, it's exactly, it's not about timing, it's about time in the market, right? And that's why 12%, right, 48,000 invested over 40 years, 12%, going to get you to 1.148 million. So go to NerdWallet, pull up the compound interest calculator, you get to see that. Okay, next, blank times your hourly rate is your income. 2,000 times your hourly rate is your income. What's that? We're going to go with 2,000. So, because we got vacation in there.
Like a 40-hour work week.
You're right.
So that's 2,000.
But the source that I'm using on this use 2,000 just as an average.
Get paid for vacation.
So 2,000, or in real estate, if you take your income and divide it by 2,000, that will give you your hourly rate. What you're earning, so if you made 100 grand, divide that by 2,000, that's going to give you your hourly rate. Because sometimes you think about it, right? What is my hourly rate? What did I earn last year? So if you're a workaholic and you're working 60 hours a week, that might be a little different, but we're not going to hit 2,000, which is kind of,
Take it, brother. Or you should take your time.
Take the bill. Yeah, because then we can take the taxes out after that. Okay, blank times your annual expenses is what you need to retire. Anybody want to guess on that? And this is not for the coffee card. You're gonna come up with some hard. How many times your annual expenses do you need to retire? 25. 25 times your annual expenses, right?
25 years worth of bill. 25 years worth of bill, food, clothes, hair, nail, shoe.
Yes. Oh, and unknown. Lynn, and unknown. What are those unknown?
Depressing.
But, and again, this is just a gauge, right? So if you have residual income, that would lower your expense, right? Or lower your expense calculation. So we already talked about what is an example of residual income. So business income, rental cash flow, right? Dividends, okay? All right, blank times your annual income is what you need to retire at 60. What do you think? Our expenses are 25. How much of your annual income do you need to have saved to retire? 15. It's a good guess. 10. So along the way, because we're all different ages in here, right? By the time you're 30, you should have one time your annual income saved. 40, 3 times. By 50, 6 times. And by 60, 8 times. By the way, I enjoy doing this because I'm actually the one that's learning the most. All the time that I put into going over this and putting this together, I've learned a lot. It's like, do I have my stuff together, right? Should I even be talking about this? Do I really have this together? And that's kind of the question you should be asking yourself right now. Remember, the quality of the questions that you ask about your investment will determine the quality of your investments.
Gross income or net income as a business owner?
I would probably go with net as a business owner on that before taxes.
Yeah.
So pull your expenses out, because that's the way you're really kind of running your life. All right, let's talk about your home. So remember, once you start making cash flow, you need to spend it all if you're the government, and then add another 50% to it, right? So you put yourself big time in debt. That's a great way to live your life. We want to get it to 30%, then we want to get it to 10%. So blank times your annual income, 3 times your annual income. Again, this is just an average. It all could be debated. So you should not spend any more than 3 times. All right. Car payment, follow along with me. Car payment with 20% down over 4 years should be no more than blank percent of your monthly income. 10%. So here's an example. You're gonna buy a $60,000 car, take 20% off. You're gonna finance 48,000. 48,000 divided by 4 is 12,000. Now, we're not calculating in interest here, by the way. Car lots have swelled their inventory, right? There's a lot of products sitting out there. A couple of years ago, well, squat. But now there is, and they're offering incentives such as 0% financing, so you might be able to get that. But in this example, $1,000 a month needs to be 10% of your income monthly. So your income monthly should be, if you're at $10,000 a month, that's the car you can afford. What does Dave Ramsey say about buying a car?
Cash.
Yeah.
Well, he gets a little bit more harsh. That's what he says. You can't afford it if you can't pay cash. Because as soon as you buy it, you need to be saving for the next one, right? So you're always behind the 8 ball if that one's not paid. So that's Dave Ramsey.
But it's true, actually,
Yeah,
because you're gonna have the car, you're gonna pay the loan, and then you're gonna like go get another one and pay the loan.
oh yeah, well, yeah, I mean, if you're the government, you go out and buy a $1,500 a month Escalade thing. Right? And then tell everybody that they're not paying their fair share. That's just my opinion. I think it's so ridiculous. that our government is so screwed. That's a problem, a big problem. All right, we already talked about the S&P 500 over the last 50 years, 11.48% return on investment, right? So, all right, who's my youngest person in the room? Because definitely know it's not me. Right? So, however old you are, just think about that. You know, you've got a long time to invest. $100 a month over 40 years, right? Got that nailed. And even on the way there, yeah, at least you've got a ton put away, right? There's a lot of different ways you can do that, such as 401k. So 401k for somebody that is under 50 currently is $23,000 a year. For somebody that is 50 or older, but due to catch up, they'll allow you to put away $30,000. What's that? So 23,000 if you're under 50, 30,500 if you're over 50. Now for us in real estate, being an independent contractor, probably going to look to a SEP more than likely. So you could put away to $69,000 in a SEP. No more than 25% of your total compensation. By the way, get with your tax professional on that to make sure you're hitting the numbers correctly. So mutual funds. Mutual fund is basically, we don't need to go super deep with this, but is a pool of money with others to invest in stocks, bonds, money markets, and a target date funds. So actually invest in a mutual fund that has a 20-30 mature date on it with State Street. So that's just one example. And that is in a mid-cap stock fund, basically. By the way, I'm invested in VU as well. That's why I wasn't invested in VU. I wish I had been invested in VU a long time ago. And I would suggest you all take a look at it because they're investing Tesla, Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, you know, the big stocks. Not the magnificent. Okay.
Index.
Yeah, exactly. That too, which I am getting to, which is the next one. So, by the way, exchange traded fund is very similar to a mutual fund, but it's based on market value, not on share price. And then talked about VU, 35% over the last 12 months. And then we get into loads. So look for a fund that is no load, which means no upfront commission. Some of those commissions can run 3, 4, 5%, right? Which means that that fund better be outperforming so that you get kind of rushing through some of this stuff now. Section 179 is a write-off for a vehicle over 6,000 pounds. They get to accelerate that write-off. So there have been some changes to that. So make sure that you get with your tax advisor on that. But you can Google section 179 vehicles. It will give you a list of vehicles that could potentially qualify for that write-off. Let's talk about term life. Term life is set for a specific amount of time. The cost is less than other types. Like, all right. I like the next one, index universal life. You can study this a little bit more, but I'm going to give you the basics because that's what this is all about. It can be used as an investment with no downside risk of market move. That means that as the market starts to turn down, and it eventually will because it always does, you don't get to participate in any of the downside. You just get the upside. By the way, you can use that like your own bank, and you can borrow money out of it. And when you borrow money out of it, it does not take your principal amount and reduce it. You stay at the same principal amount, and you continue earning compound interest on the amount, even though you borrowed that money out. So you get tax-free growth, and you get a tax-free death benefit. So basically, they They bump your basis when you die. So here's the strategy with an index universal life policy. You invest in it over a period of time. Both me and my wife have one. And in fact, I sleep with one eye open because I have so much insurance. But once you get to a certain point, you borrow the money back out as part of your retirement strategy. You pay 0 taxes on borrowed money. Then when you pass, the policy pays the loan back. This is what rich people do. I'm not rich, by the way. This is what rich people do. So I want to do what rich people are doing. That's why we have 2 of them. We have a significant investment in both of them. We only need to pay on our policies for a couple more years and we're done. My wife is a bit younger than I am, so hers will get to grow and we'll borrow against mine first. More than likely, I'm going to pass before she ever does. And then she can then tap into hers and then do exactly the same. So that's just one part of our retirement strategy. Again, look into that, talk to a financial advisor about index universal life and whether that's right for you. So annuity. So it's a guaranteed payout for life. They tend to average about 4 to 6%. So life and 4 to 6% are those blanks to fill in. Typically, 1 to 3% typically start with fees can range from 1 to 3%. And then typically they start with an accumulation. So you would put $100,000, say, into an annuity. There's an accumulation period of 5 years, 10 years, 6 years, 7 years, whatever, before you start to draw on that for life. And then you're guaranteed for life to get payments on it. The downside is that you may not be able to touch the funds without paying a penalty of up to 20%. That's the downside for an annuity. I'm not in an annuity right now. I may add that as part of my overall retirement strategy in the future. I've got some other things going because I've got business income that could go far longer than my life. And so that is maybe why I wouldn't go into an annuity. All right. HELOC. Benefits include no closing costs. If there is closing costs, it may just be the appraisal fee. That's it. And with that, payments can go down over a period of time, and it's open-ended. So our income is like my grant right here, right? Seasonality, you know, I'm working hard, I'm not working hard. It can be up and down, right? But you can get a HELOC first mortgage on your house, and you can accelerate the payments. And when you do that, every time, if you are cash flow positive in your personal finances, you can then make extra payments towards your mortgage. And what happens is they do a recalculation. So the amount that you're paying in interest continues to go down just like that. And you get to, if you were to keep the payment consistent, you're now throwing more money at principal than you are at interest. And it's an accelerated way of paying off what you've got. I've got this right now on this market. So we had a gap, a couple $100,000 on the build out. So I went to the bank and borrowed it under this right here. We actually pay more than we have to. And every month that recalculates, right? They reset that loan and we get to pay that down. So this strategy is not for everybody because not everybody is going to be super disciplined like a business to run this way, right? So the best thing for most people would be to pay a typical mortgage. And if you wanted to accelerate it, make payments toward it. And then maybe do a HELOC later so that you have equity to tap into. By the way, how many homeowners, what percentage of homeowners have their house paid on free and clear? Anybody know? And by the way, wait, raise your hand. Nobody said the right number. You gotta hit it exactly right. And so, no.
45.
Nope.
Todd?
Nope.
53.
No, okay, that's it, no more guessing, we're gonna have to go to another question. This is my last part right here. 38% of homeowners have their house paid off, and another 38% have at least 50% equity. That means 76% of homeowners have at least 50% equity right now. And the reason why that's important is if that's one of you, you could go to a HELOC second and tap into that. My strategy here would be for a HELOC first. Start out, go get a 30-year fixed mortgage, and then later on, once you build up some equity, maybe you go get a HELOC on it. By the way, I have this same situation because I went to the bank and I borrowed $1 million to buy a business. And so I'm doing the same thing. I'm paying very little interest on that loan right now because number one, I paid it down, but I've done that exact same thing. I've chipped away at it. Now when I make my payment, I'm paying very little in interest because out of the gate, a 30-year mortgage has got, and I don't care if it's conventional, FHA, VA, about 75% of your payment goes to taxes. And in this situation, you start to throw a little bit more money at it. You get access to the money, number one, and number two, what you're paying in interest goes down. So I use that strategy on my last house. I paid my house off in 3 years. I got fairly aggressive, what I was throwing at it, and I paid a higher rate of interest than the 30-year fix at that time, probably by 3 or 4 points higher. And a US bank loan officer told me that I was crazy for doing it. And here's what I said. I said, I don't care about what my rate of interest is. I care about how much interest I'm paying. And my strategy was to get that house paid off in 5 years. I did it in 3 by using this strategy. Using it on this office, I'm using it currently in my personal finances as well. So it can be done. All right. Let's see. Did I get all the blanks? Does anybody miss anything? They have all their blanks to this point filled out?
Annuity guaranteed.
Annuity guaranteed payout for life. So they average 4 to 6% of what you put in. So if you put in $1 million, you might be getting anywhere from $40,000 to $60,000 per year in return from that. And the fees range from 1 to 3%. And if you pay a penalty, it'd be up to 20%. Okay. And down below, the accounts everybody should have a high yield checking account, a high yield savings account. So here's your high yield savings account. Here's your high yield checking account. So bring it in to your high yield savings account so they can go out to your high yield checking account. Now, every bank is a little bit different and how much you might need to have in the bank to be able to get some of those high yields. So check into that. And then a retirement account, 401k, SEP, IRA. Now, you could argue with me if you're really good at investing in real estate, I don't need that. Just like you don't need a 529 for your kid to go to college, because I never invested in a 529, but I did invest in real estate. I've got one kid that's all the way through college with 0 debt. So I'm stupid though, because I should just wait. 37 short. Anyway, brokerage account. So everybody should have a brokerage account. And if you're not going to invest in real estate, right? Which I think if you invest in a piece of real estate when your kid is 1 and you hang on to that until they're 18 or wait until they're finished because you paid for college a different way and you're going to pay yourself back with a loan or something like that. But if you're not going to do that, then possibly a 529. But I think you're going to probably be disappointed. It's not going to get you rate of returns that a piece of real estate. All right, books. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. 1 minute. And then what that book is about is that investing is a mindset, right? You have to have the right mindset around investing. And then the next book is The Buffett Way. And that's by Robert Hagstrom. And this is just lessons from Buffett's investing and how he does it. By the way, Warren Buffett will not invest in a business that does not have a 20% rate of return. By the way, all of you are working in a business right now where if done right, and Michael and I just talked about this morning, you probably can step near 80% profit margin in a business. Profit will invest in a business. Now, I will throw this out once in a while when I'm talking to somebody, that's a business that profit for the business, right? Which means that he owns Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad, that means that that railroad is making more than 20%. Kind of interesting. Everybody's gonna receive the wealth scorecard. I failed miserably at this, but I'm getting better, right? I hope all of you will take a look at it. Please go put together a personal financial statement too. Just Google it, download it, ask your banker for it, whatever you need to do. But everybody should have a personal financial statement that they check in on at least a couple of times a year. Like, go to a point. By the way, I just updated mine yesterday. So just continue to do it. By the way, I had to do that because I owe some banks some money that I was just talking about. They will come to me and say, need your tax return and they need your personal financial statement. So, all right, any questions? How do we do? By the way, look at the KW Wealth as well. So,
What's the name of the Buffett book? The platform?
the Buffett. Is that, I thought I put that. That's what, yeah, the Buffett way.
Index.
Yeah, so, I've got one on myself, my wife has one, and then we have, at Maple Grove and at Louisville, I have a term policy on me as man insurance, and that will convert to an index universal life policy at the end as well. And the one here will convert to index universal life policy.
You got those through your financial.
Right, yeah. So whoever you've got, I go through Shorewood Wealth Management. They help us with our 401k program here at the Market Center. So we've got a 401k here at Roseville for the employees and then one at Maple Grove as well. And then he was able to help me get set up in that. And by the way, since we have two of them, I'm invested with a different company than my wife is. So just in case something happens, right? It's reducing the risk and not having like
But you're correct in that. Super rare. That's stuff they're doing right there.
yeah.
They're far back.
I'm actually going to do this. There's something that, and I'm basically going to my own bank. I'm going to borrow money from myself. I'm going to pay myself a rate of return on that money. And my index universal life policy will continue to grow based on as if I had not taken that money out at all. I'll pay it back. And so I'm just banking on this thing. Hopefully I'm creditworthy. You know, I'll check in with myself and see if I can.
One example, years ago when O.J. Simpson was found liable in a civil court. And the story after that was he couldn't pay any of it. He had all this money. The reason why he had all that money, access to all his money, not have to turn it over in civil because he had his money in the universal life product. Because it's protected from the courts as well.
Hopefully I don't get sued.
But
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you.
All right, guys. Bus takes us back courtesy of Troy. So go enjoy.
good that part.
You learned it from the man.
Eat more.
The welcome management company.
I'm sure.
Thank
So.
Sending it, I think, me.
Suggested that.
And I-